shivering and adjusting my scarf. It had been a cold year, and on Christmas Day there was a crackling frost that drove passers-by to get to the warmth. I hurried home again, shivering. It was late in the evening, and the bag with presents was pleasantly pulling my hand away. My son would be happy with a new constructor, and I had a couple of surprises for my wife. I smiled and quickened my steps when the back of my head exploded with a sharp pain. Black spots danced in my eyes, and I was surprised to see snow-covered asphalt rushing into my face, smashing my lips to blood. Before I fell into oblivion, I saw the figure of a tall man clutching an object in his hand, something like a hammer or a club. God, my head hurt. I groaned and tried to open my eyes. A bout of nausea made me regret it, and I gave up my pathetic efforts to open my eyelids. I felt that I was lying on something hard and cold, like stone or brick. The silence was broken only by the echoing sound of falling drops and the humming of the daylight bulbs. When I pulled myself together, I risked opening my eyes. Suppressing another bout of nausea, I looked around. My eyes were double, and the ceiling was spinning, but I could see the place I was in some detail. A basement, a damp, cold basement. A steel door with a small barred window. Two nasty buzzing lamps hung from the ceiling. There was nothing else here, just bare brick walls. Rubbing the back of my head, I cringed. I couldn't see what was there, but it felt bad enough. Wiping my bloody fingers on my clothes, I started walking in circles along the walls to warm up a little and keep myself occupied. 5 steps along one wall and 7 along the other. I counted the steps and thought, 1. Who would want to kidnap me? 2. I'm just a mid-level civil servant with no access to important information. 3. I've never done anything bad to anyone in my life. 4. I don't have much money. 5. Nothing to demand as ransom. 1. Then maybe it's some kind of psychopath. An unpleasant chill ran down my spine. 2. Suddenly I heard footsteps outside the door. The keys rattled in the lock, and when the door swung open, I saw a man standing in the doorway. Tall, my height, plain shirt and jeans, inexpensive shoes. When my gaze moved to his face, I was numb. Short blonde hair, gray blue eyes, straight nose. Such a familiar face, the one I'd seen in my mirror every morning, like a twin brother. With a grin, he looked at me and remained silent, except his eyes weren't smiling, and they didn't bode well for me. They were cold and hateful, and it was as if he could see right through me. When the tension in the air reached its limit, the man parted his lips and said quietly, "Here we meet. Again." He took a quick step forward and a short baton, which I hadn't noticed, came down on my head. Gulping for air, I sank to the floor. The man wasn't in a hurry to deliver a second blow. He just stood there, watching me squirm on the cold floor, trying to get up. "What does that mean?" I spit up blood, trying to crawl away. What does that mean?" He laughed. "Don't you get it? That's so sweet." Putting down his baton, he squatted down and looked me in the eye. "Doppelganger." He grinned crookedly. "A creature that takes the form of a man and lives his life." Let go. My brain refused to comprehend what was happening, confused and lost in fear. "I don't think so." Another blow from the baton made the light in my eyes fade again. I don't know how many days I've been in this basement. The frequent fainting spells have made me lose track of time. All that's left is the constant pain and the unrelenting cold. Every few hours he comes and beats me, this time without saying a word. The fear was gone, leaving room for dull fatigue. All I wanted was for it to be over soon, for him to bring another blow of the baton down on my head, and I would die. Once again, crossing the cell in fruitless attempts to warm myself, I suddenly experienced a strange feeling, as if I'd forgotten something important, and now it was on the edge of my consciousness. Something that could help me. What did he say this demon was called? I wondered, remembering. Doppelganger. A memory suddenly came over me, so foreign and yet so immensely familiar. Mine and yet someone else's at the same time. Joy, sadness, hatred, love, and something else. Now I remembered when I'd seen him before. The damn brick wouldn't budge as I tore it from the wall with my fingernails. As I loosened the loose stone, I hummed a silly children's song to myself. After a while, I heard the familiar squeak of keys in the keyhole. This time I didn't try to dodge the blow. On the contrary, I lunged forward, and the stone in my hand struck the man in the temple with a thud. He fell to the ground with a low groan. I turned him over, found my keys, picked up my baton, and whistling, left the room, locking the door behind me. He'd made a good point, that man. Doppelgangers live the life of the person whose appearance they copy. Moreover, they become that person, acquire their nature, remembering their essence only in moments of extreme danger. Yes, we've met him before, and he managed to escape from the cage where I kept him. After that, he disappeared for years, and I relaxed, thinking he was dead. And now he's back, apparently determined to get his life back. I grinned. One thing he hadn't considered was that we're too survivable, and also, we're more cunning. And here was what I was looking for. Purring a nursery rhyme under my breath, I slowly began to brick up the doorway. It's good to have everything on hand, both cement and bricks, I thought with a smile. When the last brick had taken its place, I looked at my work with satisfaction and listened. There was a quiet sound, like someone scraping iron with their nails, and then a long groan. He seemed to understand. I laughed heartily. He wouldn't bother me again. I've spent so much time here. My wife must be in a panic. I picked up the bag of presents lying around and hurried home.